What is going on, everybody? Welcome into TTP Sports. That's more like it. That's more like it. Not getting shit stomped by the Giants this time. This time we do the shit stomping. This time we shit stomp on the Giants. It feels nice. It felt very nice. Now, granted, to get the gigantic elephant out of the room, 100%. The refs were pure garbage in this game. That was probably one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Seriously. There's like so many calls in this game that were just so bad and just so egregious that it's even like hard to remember all of them like off the top of your head because that's how many bad calls there were. Like when you have the tush push that should have been a fumble, but it shouldn't even gotten to that point because they should have spotted Jalen Hurts on the run prior to that for a first down. No, they don't do that, and yes, it should have been a fumble on the tush push, but seriously, the spotting was terrible. Some of the reviews were terrible. You got Jackson Dart, which should have been a fumble. They review it, and somehow they call it forward progress on the pass. They reverse the fumble. I don't even know what the fuck's going on here. There's just so much shit and so much bad from the NFL refereeing today. Like I say I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, how bad can it get? How horrible can it get? And then you got Brian Dable, looks like he's going to have a freaking seizure on the sidelines with some of the calls that were going on there. It is absolutely insane that was the case, but fucking God. Like, he was going crazy on plays that were obvious offensive pass interference calls. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, seriously, I thought it was the one play where the Eagles drew a defensive pass interference or an offensive pass interference. I forget which one it was. But it was so clear and obvious that Dable was just losing his goddamn mind on the sideline at the refs. And I'm sure that's just all bent up frustration from how poor the refereeing was the entire day. But my God, I thought that dude was going to explode. That's how red he was. It really was. But besides the horrible refereeing, there was football being played. The refs definitely wanted to make it a show of their own. They definitely wanted to be the main source. They wanted to be the main face of what was going on in today's game. But we don't watch the NFL for the refereeing as much as the refs want us to watch them. There was football being played. Eagles. They actually figured out a rushing attack today. My God. Second play of the fucking game. Second play of the drive. Saquon Barkley, long touchdown run. Holy shit, best run of the entire season already. Saquon had a great day before he leaves with the groin injury in that fourth quarter. Most likely a precautionary type of thing. You have your bye week next week. Tank Bigsby was also very great. He was actually playing very good, so it was a good replacement for Saquon there. I can't even imagine was it in that fourth quarter where it was 2nd and 31 after the offensive line gives up a huge sack on Jalen Hurts and it goes so far back it becomes 2nd and 31. Very next play, Tank Bigsby covers that entire thing up. That's crazy. That is crazy. That shows how bad the Giants are, but and it's also a predicament of how badly you got shit stomped a couple of weeks ago, but we'll forget that. That's crazy that he even covered and got those yards back to even get a first down on 2nd and 31 on a run play. That is a typical play where the Eagles just give up and they run and maybe they only get a few yards out of it. Holy shit, he somehow got all of that back. My God. Jalen Hurts passing the ball once again was very good, was dynamic, was entertaining, was fun. Devontae Smith had a good game. Dallas Goedert had a couple of touchdowns. The catch by Jahan Dotson in the fourth quarter was great, going over the shoulder, basically jumping over the replacement corner for the Giants because they were dealing with so many injuries in this goddamn game. And the one to Cam Scatterbo was just, oh my, that was ugly. That was gruesome. The foot should not bend like that. That was scary to even witness there on the television. Like, I couldn't even get a good glimpse live because everything went so quickly, but you can tell from the reaction of basically everybody that it was bad. And when you see all the stuff that's on Twitter, it's like, oh my God, the foot should not bend like that. It should not bend like that. I hope they said it was a dislocated ankle, so hopefully that's the whole extent. But oh man, I hope he's okay because that was so ugly. That was so bad. Watching that, it's insane. It is insane how gruesome that was. So hopefully everything but him is okay. Like already gets the boot on the field, has to get carted off. Obviously, it was just ugly. It was just completely ugly. But from an overall sense, defensively wise, there definitely were some struggles on the defensive side to get Jackson Dart down. But Jackson Dart was missing so many weapons today as the game was going on. The Giants were just losing so many bodies offensively and defensively that you were just going to stop the Giants majority of the time. It basically just resembles a lot of what the Eagles' defense has been here this year is bend don't break. That's basically what they've been. They get stops when they need to, and yeah, sometimes they struggle to get into Jackson Dart, but then they managed to sack Jackson Dart a few times in this game as well. He finished with 5. You know, they did sack him 5 times, but there was just like so many times where he's scrambling throughout the pocket, he's escaping, finding a way to get some chunk yardage in there. But they did manage to sack him. You know, Jordan Davis gets a sack in there, Jalen Carter gets a sack in there. I believe Jalix Hunt as well. A lot of people were getting involved in those certain places. So defensively, you know, it still doesn't feel like it's a full best effort that we've ever seen from this defense. Obviously, there's still issues that they got to go through and fix some things, and it's still a very young defense. They still have some flaws to the defense as well. But, you know, it's basically, like I said, the resemblance of what it's been every week. Bend, don't break. And it's been working for them to this point. And who knows, maybe they'll do some things during this bye week. You are most likely going to getting Brandon Graham back. I would assume after the bye week, when you play in, will be a little bit of an added boost for your pass rush, even though it is a very desperate move because you are desperate for pass rush. So that will be a nice presence, veteran presence as well in the locker room. So there's definitely some nice things with Brandon Graham getting added. I just didn't like the optics of it just because it just, I just felt desperate. And granted, you are very desperate. You're desperate for pass rush. Your pass rush the entire year has really been non-existent. So it is going to help because you do need the help there. I just don't like going to the unretirement well. That's basically what I'm talking about here. But if we're looking at a lot of the stats today, Jalen Hurts was very good once again. 15 of 20 for his throws attempts today. He had 179 yards. He had 4 passing touchdowns on the day as well for a quarterback rating of 141.5. But the run game definitely was the star of the show, and the Eagles finally figured out something with the run game. Now, granted, we got to see how this carries over week by week after the bye week, but this definitely is a good start to that. Saquon Barkley, 14 carries, 150 yards. He had the 1 touchdown on his first run of the day, the 65-yard touchdown run. That's fun. We haven't seen that all year. Great to see that from Saquon Barkley. He had a fantastic day before he went down with the groin injury. And thank God the bye week's next week, so everybody gets the rest up there. Tank Bigsby, best day as an Eagle. Best game as an Eagle. 9 carries for 104 yards. He definitely took a lot of the load off when Saquon went down, especially recovering on that 2nd and 31 play, so that was funny. Jalen Hurts, 4 carries for 22 yards. You had some Will Shipley moments. You know, Tanner McKee eventually came into the ball game. For the receiving, Devontae Smith had a good game, 6 receptions for 184 yards. Jahan Dotson had that 1 touchdown, which was his 2nd target of the day. The only catch of the day for him was a fantastic catch by Jahan Dotson. Dallas Goedert, he got targeted 3 times. He had 2 touchdowns for 28 yards there. Saquon Barkley had 4 receptions for 24 yards as well. So overall, just a really balanced offensive day, I guess you could say, from both the passing and the running. A lot from what we saw last year, and also this is without A.J. Brown as well. And granted, it'll be very fun to see what A.J. Brown has to say on Twitter after this game, or during this week or something like that, because you know his stupid cryptic tweets and how much he's complaining and how many people like to say, oh, he's just trolling. He's just trolling. No, A.J. Brown's just a diva. A.J. Brown is just a diva. He's going to continue to act like a diva, and that's just going to be the way it goes. Now, I'm not saying get rid of A.J. Brown because that would be fucking idiotic. You do need A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is an important cog in the offense. But I would be lying to y'all if I said all this stuff with A.J. Brown, this drama and all this crap, wasn't annoying. Because it is annoying going through this every goddamn week. It really is. When he says cryptic messages out on Twitter, when he sends it out on Instagram after you get a good win against the Vikings, where he has a good day at the office, but he's probably jealous because Devontae Smith had a better day to him in the office, and blah, 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 because he had more targets, blah, 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 blah. It's just annoying. It's just completely annoying. So some guys with some sacks on a day. Zach Bond had a sack. Zach Bond had a sack. Alex Hunt, Jomo, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I believe that's Jalen Carter's first sack of the season. So that's crazy right there. So those guys showed up in those instances of getting the Jackson dart. And overall, yeah, I would like one of the really few blemishes. Will Shipley did have some good kick returns as well. He had 99 yards on his kick return, so that was nice to see there. Jake Elliott missed one of the long field goals. It was one of the first field goals of the day for the Eagles that they attempted. It was on the situation. I believe that was on the second drive of the day where they were attempting to go for it on 4th down. It was 4th and 3. It looked like the Giants jumped offside, but then it was a mix between Toph and why am I blanking on the name? But it was a mix between two Eagles offensive linemen jumping offside, just flinching a little bit, which caused everything there. So, who knows? So we'll see. It's crazy, though. It definitely is. It definitely is really crazy, though. So, let's see. What was I going to say? I also got a comment right here from channel name saying the audio is not coming in. I don't think that's true. Is that for everybody else? Because I just brought the audio up on here. No, it's working. It's working right here, so that might be just a you thing, channel name. That might just be a you thing. Not entirely sure. But what was I going to say now? I lost my train of thought. But overall, it was a pretty good day. If we just look at, the first drive of the game, obviously, it was the Saquon touchdown run. Then you get that missed field goal by Jake Elliott after the Eagles took that, false start penalty on the 4th down play. Then you get one of the touchdowns in the second quarter, which was to Saquon Barkley, which was a very nice pass right there to him, just going down the left side, broke open a tackle. Did some nice things there. You also got a couple of the Dallas Goedert touchdowns. You got the touchdown to Jahan Dotson at the end of the game. So overall, it was just a very, like I said, it was like an even flow of offense from both sides today on the Eagles, from the passing and the rushing attack. So it's something that we really haven't seen in like full effect this year. So it definitely is a step in the right direction. But definitely, we do need to see it more as it goes along, because your schedule is only going to get tougher and tougher as you get out of the bye week. So it's good that you're doing it now. Granted, this is against the New York Giants, but it's also good because you get your revenge against the New York Giants, because they also did pummel you in MetLife a couple of weeks ago. So that's very nice to have right there as well. But Jesus Christ, the refs, like, you can't even describe how bad the refs were in this game. Like, I don't even think the penalties tell the full story, because the Giants, they had 7 penalties, the Eagles, they had 5 penalties. But it's just like the overall conglomeration of what today was, from just a refereeing standpoint, was just so bad. It was just so bad. And I really thought Brian Daboll was going to explode. That's how bad it was. That's how bad the refereeing was. And it's just so egregious to when you really it just goes to the tush-push situation, because did they blow the whistle too early? Like, were they calling forward progress way too early? Like, I don't even know what the fuck was going on in that situation. It was very dumb. And then you have the bad spot right before that play, which should have been a first down for Jalen Hurts. But no, they spotted... excuse me. They spotted poorly, and it forces you to go into that tush-push situation. Jesus Christ, why am I choking up right now? I'm probably choking up because that's how bad the refs were. I'm gagging on it. I'm gagging because of how bad the refs were. Seriously, when I try to, like, reflect on how bad the refs were, making me choke up, making me, like, about to throw up. That's how gag-inducing it was. Jesus. That's how bad it was. And like other things that were of note from today, Jalen Hurts in his past 2 games, this is from Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports on Twitter. Touchdown passes for Jalen Hurts in the past 2 games, 7 and only 9 incomplete passes. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. And there's also an interesting stat for Jalen Hurts this season. 15 passing touchdowns and 1 interception. Not bad for a tush-push merchant. Classic. Classic. Is there anything else that really stood out from today's game? Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see what's going on with the whole Saquon Barkley thing and the groin injury. But realistically, you got a bye week next week. Everybody does have their chance to heal up, which is a very good thing. And if A.J. Brown is dealing with this hamstring situation, you know, a lot of guys like really need this rest right now. You know, Cam Jurgens needs the rest. Landon Dickerson, I'm sure he can use the rest. A.J. Brown, obviously, with the hamstring situation. Everybody that's just dealing with, like, you know, now Saquon Barkley with the groin. Like, everybody is just right now on this team just dealing with so many injuries. It's absolutely insane. So it definitely is a good timing right now for the injury bug, and good timing for the bye week, basically, because you know, Ojulari was out for this game, Cam Jurgens was out, Adoree Jackson was out, A.J. Brown was out, then you lose Saquon Barkley in the game, so you're losing some guys right there. So, granted, you know, Adoree Jackson really isn't much help, but it's still a body, you know what I mean? Ojulari, a body, Cam Jurgens is your starting center. That is important, so definitely is something right there. What else is there? What else is there? Emmanuel Acho pointing out some things for Jalen Hurts about a possible MVP season. He says, I hope y'all realize Jalen Hurts is having an MVP season. 20 total touchdowns to just 1 interception and an NFC best 6 wins. Interesting. Interesting. Jalen Hurts keeps this up. I know the favorite probably right now is Baker Mayfield, with the way that he's playing for Tampa Bay. But, like, it's hard to deny him. Jalen Hurts is having a very good year. Very, very good year. And he continues to get shit-talked every single week for some reason. Every single week. Every tiny detail of his game, it has to get nitpicked. It's crazy. It's crazy how many people hate Jalen Hurts. It really just is insane. So, if we look at the schedule, upcoming, obviously you have your bye week next week, which is very huge for a lot of the injuries on the roster. Get some guys rested up, because definitely a very good time for a bye week. Then you get into the next, basically the rest of the schedule, which is going to be very tough. Going to be very tough. Have a lot of tough games in here. You got Green Bay coming out of the bye week in Lambeau on Monday Night Football, so you're going to be having a lot of primetime games as well. So you got Green Bay, obviously. You have Sunday Night Football at the Link against Detroit. That'll be a very tough game. Dallas, just with the way their offense has been this year, it's the best offense in the NFL. So you're going to be playing in Dallas at a 4:25 game. Then you get the Black Friday game against the Chicago Bears. They've been playing better this year, but they're still like a team that you probably should be able to beat. The Los Angeles Chargers, another Monday Night Football game in Los Angeles. So that'll be interesting right there. They're 5-3 on the season. And do they play anybody today, or did they win? No, they played the Vikings today, and they crushed them, it looks like. Or when did they play the Vikings? No, they played the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. So still, they played this week. They crushed the Vikings. So that's there. And then basically probably your easiest game of this entire rest of the schedule is against the Las Vegas Raiders at the Link. So that'll probably be your easiest game. And then your last 3 games of the year, 2 of them are against Washington and 1 of those are against Buffalo. So it definitely is a tough schedule. It's a very tough schedule, especially with the way the schedule opened up too. So you have a very tough schedule. You were the Super Bowl champions. The schedule was always going to be the tough after that. So this is what you got. This is the card that you're dealt after winning a Super Bowl. So yeah, let's see. Anything else? Anything else? We do have a voicemail here on the Anytime Hotline. Is there anything else that is standing out through this game? Not entirely sure. Someone said that Brian Dable is so mad that it looks like he's moving at 1.5 speed. That's funny. That is funny. What else is there from this game? I don't think there's really else much. It was just like, you know, hopefully Scatabo is okay, because that was just very bad looking. It was so ugly, the injury. It's crazy. But overall, you got your revenge, and now you move on to your bye week. That's basically the only thing that's important right now. So, might as well get to the voicemail line. We got one call here. from Sean. Then we'll get to some of you guys in the live chat, and then we'll move on. Then we'll end it off today. So let's see what Sean has to say here.
Now that's the Eagles football we saw last year, the ability to control the lines of scrimmage, the ability to run the ball and gash teams with the running game, the ability to get pressure on the quarterback and knock him down repeatedly. I know the Giants stink, but this was a good tonic going into the bye week. Howie Roseman, though, needs to get active. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to land another pass rusher to go along with Brandon Graham. And then you simply got to get guys healthy. I mean, I'm glad that there's a bye next week for Barkley to rest. You know, hopefully Juergens, A.J. Brown, etc., because the next 4 games, it's a pretty tough murderer's row. Finally, kudos to Tank Bigsby. You know, he hadn't done shit coming into today, but he ran his ass off. And finally, you know, prayers for Cam Scatterbo. He plays for the opposition, but, you know, a hell of a player. You hate to see his season end like that.
Exactly. Like seriously, legs should not bend like that. Feet should not bend like that. That was completely ugly. Yeah, this was definitely as close as to what we saw last year. They definitely did control the line of scrimmage more. I still want, and granted, there's still, you know, guys on the offensive line. You got Tyler Steen. That was the one guy I was thinking of earlier. You got Toth playing center, which is definitely a downgrade from Cam Juergens. You know, Dickerson's been banged up all year since coming back from his surgery, probably too early. Mailata hasn't been the same this year. Lane Johnson hasn't been the same this year. So maybe you do get this bye week. Some guys get the rest, and that's very important for these guys. So we'll see how that carries through, but this is definitely the better overall product of the offense that we've seen all year. So we just got to see how it carries. We got to see how it moves along. So that's the most important thing right there. Definitely. So anything else? I'm not entirely sure. No. So let's get to you guys in the chat. We'll end it off, and we'll be on a merry way. Austin, way to show up in this one. That's what we like to see, and I'm sure Saquon will be back in time for Green Bay, at worst for Dallas. Although Tank was the show of the force in his own right. Yeah, that injury for Scatterbo was horrible. That was just horrible. But overall, a really solid game from the Birds. Yep, pretty solid game. Pretty good. Officiating. I don't even know. The officiating was so bad. So bad. Return the favor with a belt to ass of our own. As someone who went through 2 separate sprained ankles, Scat's injury was super hard to watch. Yeah, I'm sure it is. It was ugly, man. It was ugly. I don't even want to rewatch it. It was that bad. So, good win. Good win for the Birds. We'll see how everything picks up after the bye week, and if any news comes through this week with, you know, if they make any moves. So, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up.